Guys, today's episode is about from construction to cash flow with Miss Marta in the studio today. And this is going to be fun because if you know Marta, Marta looks like a fashionista. And there are not that many women that Miss Marta look like you, dress like you, like $1 million all the time, and go into, you were a masonry contractor.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of your background. And now you've become a successful real estate investor. And you've built a massive portfolio, right? In a very short period of time, less than 2 years. So let's kind of go back before we get into it. How do you go to, why, right? Today you're doing 4 flips, you've done 2, you're doing 2 more, 21 rental properties, right? So let's go back. As a masonry contractor in Chicago, you've built prisons, you've bid on big buildings,
I built schools, not only prisons.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but how did you get into that business to begin with?
It was a family-owned business that my dad started, and then I decided to join him. Something that I did for many years since I was 19 years old. So it was basically what I lived and breathed for so many years. And going back to the story, how did I ever come along doing something with...
But hold on, I want to go back to typically you went to college, right?
Yes.
You finished college.
Yes.
And then getting into a business, which is, kind of the masonry business, women typically are not in that business. I'm stereotyping that a little bit, but that's just the truth, right? You look the way you do, dress the way you do, right? You're very fashion appropriate, to say the least. How did the guys take you? Did they take you seriously when you first showed up at these jobs with your dad?
Well, first of all, it is a very male-oriented industry. We are obviously aware of that. But as a woman, I felt like I always had to not only prove myself as a contractor, but also prove myself as a woman. Because there are a lot of times where contractors send pretty girls to get contracts and to be successful, but usually most of the time the doors get shut in front of them because they really don't know what they're talking about. Okay. So I really, did I ever feel like I was discriminated against it, that I was a woman? I can't really say that because I really always knew what I wanted to do. I knew how to run a project. I knew how to do all this stuff. So I always felt very comfortable and confident enough that I could get stuff done, even if it was like $5 million contracts.
Got it. So just as a background, where's your dad from?
Originally, we're both from Poland. I was also born in Poland.
Okay. So he's obviously Polish by heritage. And with your dad, he starts the business. A lot of the Polish people are in the trades, right? And he gets in. What do you think for him as an immigrant, right? With these, what was his challenge that you saw you can come into the business and maybe help him with?
The accent.
Okay.
Not knowing English enough and feeling comfortable and, talking to some of the biggest general contractors in the industry. Because you're going into the Shark Tank. At the end of the day, you're going against a lot of people that have been around for generations and you're competing. So it was a lot harder. And when I came in, I'm like, why don't we go after those bigger jobs? Why don't we do the bigger stuff? And he's like, maybe you could do it, but I feel like I've reached what I could have reached for my abilities.
So you saw potential, and you're even when you're going through college, 19 years old, and you're kind of going to these jobs. So you kind of were brought up in that business.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So you're in the construction business. You've legitimately, I pick on you sometimes, but you've legitimately done big jobs, right? Sizable projects. And a lot of times people would look at a business like yours, right, and be like, oh my God, she's doing this big stuff, right? I want you to take me back to 2006, 2007. 2 people who were in your business. Things are going well, exceptionally well at that. And what happened at that time?
Well, I think you live and you learn and you start seeing trends, what's going on in the market. So we were predominantly in the mixed use, big commercial projects, like all those condos that were going up in the city, all over the city. I was probably on them.
And we're talking about
like
Chicago.
150 units plus high rises.
Right.
Lots of money. So everything is peachy, everything is going great, we're getting our payments, everything, sales, everything is great. And then all of a sudden, we all know what happened to the economy, and what happens, banks shut down the construction payouts. We don't get our money. The owners are throwing their hands up in the air. What do you want me to do? There's nothing I can do. If the bank doesn't pay us, we can't pay you. So I basically was left holding like a $2 million bag of like that.
So you got, and a lot of times people, see this, oh my God, all this money is coming in, but you're running at the time a union shop, correct? Right? So this is not
250 people.
250 people, right? And a lot of times people think, right, just because somebody has a, $15-20 million revenue coming in, it's not about revenue. It's about the net, right? That's really what matters. So, and this is serious business. This is Chicago building. This is,
this is serious
it
stuff.
comes with a lot of headaches, a lot of other stuff that
Well,
people...
just dealing with the unions, dealing with the suppliers, employees. It's just a lot of stuff.
Right.
It's a headache.
So now suddenly you're in a $2 million hole, right? This is money you put out, and now, you're even people you're friends with, right? And these are well-off people. These are not people doing small jobs, right? Big contractors, big developers. So that kind of goes under, right? Obviously, like a lot of people did. So how did that journey lead to, because you kind of came in contact with us a couple of years ago, right?
2019, at the end
2019,
of 2019.
right, 2019. How did that journey lead you? Were there some things that happened at that time and you're like, maybe I need to look into something else rather than just, because wealthy people. I mean, people truly who own a lot of real estate, so on and so forth, right? And you were on the construction side of it, right?
I was at a different spectrum. And, for me, it wasn't so much, construction is something that I just fell into and I did very good in. Like, I don't want to say that that definitely was not a waste of my life, but it was something I felt like I did in my 20s. And then I was, when I was 28, I got pregnant with my firstborn, Jacob, right? Your favorite little.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids right now.
Okay.
And I realized that there's like a lot more to life than just like grinding, all the time and just not seeing everything. Like, you were making money, but it's like different money, because the minute you don't have the job, you're out of luck, right? You have 200 mouths to feed. Like, you constantly have to go grind and meet with the clients and keep looking for opportunities. So it's always a struggle. It takes a huge team, to put all this stuff together. And I realized, like, what else can I do that I can create more of a passive income for myself? So if I want to spend time with, my growing family, I can do that, and I have the choice, because I really didn't have the choice. It was,
So somebody coming from your background, right, where you truly understand how to build big buildings, right? I mean, this is not like, and you're involved from the beginning aspect of it, and then follow through. You, by heritage, know a lot of people who are in the trades. Right? The obvious jump would be to jump into big multi-unit buildings, right? That's what a lot of times people would think. Yet you show up to us at the time. I mean, now it's National Real Estate Investment. At the time, it was Chicago REIA, right? And why did you buy into this crazy idea of me trying to say, guys, small properties, do a heck of a lot of them, but small properties. Why did that appeal to you?
Well, because I didn't know where to start. I knew that I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to do rentals and, create some kind of a passive income. I just didn't know where to get started, what to buy, what to look at. Like, I knew that I could do it. I just didn't know where. So when I Googled Chicago REIA, you guys popped up, and I went to the meeting. And obviously, the meeting was area selection, and that was one of my biggest problems. I just really didn't know where to get started, because I live in the North Shore, and everything's so expensive over there that I'm like, I don't think these numbers really work.
Right.
So so I came to the meeting, and after an hour of listening to you, I told my husband, I'm like, I think this guy knows what he's doing. So,
and I mean, you're very shrewd, right? You've been around the block a couple times, right? I mean, you've dealt with tough situations, but the whole idea of simplicity, did that make sense to you?
At the beginning, I remember when it was the first house, and you're like, you got to do this house. This is a good house for you. I was like, oh my God, like, this is not gonna work. Like, who's gonna live here? And what? Like, I didn't think that it was that simple. And then when I started doing it, and I remember when I finished my first house, I called you and I said, oh my God, like I could do 100 of these if I could.
Right.
If I could
Because,
buy and invest
I mean, here's a person who legitimately, is bidding on big city projects. This is no joke, right? And here I am trying to tell her to buy her first house for $41,000.
47.
47.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. For $47,000. Literally a small little 2-bedroom brick house, but in an average south suburb of Chicago. And I'm like, Miss Marta, trust me. I mean, I literally had to convince her that, and there was a foundation, not really an issue, but there was water coming in the foundation, which for her is no big deal. Right? And I'm like, of all people, this woman clearly is capable. Why am I having to convince her? And I remember a couple people, right, in Mastery telling me, they're like, well, why are you trying to convince Marta so much? I'm like, because she has all the tools. I mean, this is not even something that she should have to think about. But even coming from the background, you were like, oh, this can't be this simple. Right?
I know,
this can't work this simply. Right? So you show up to the first meeting. And then you came back, right?
Yes.
And some people are aware we do something what's called Mastery, right? And really, you kind of came and you're like, hey, what is this Mastery? I want to join, right? And I'm like, well, no, come to the 3-day. You're like, no, I don't want to wait. I want to join now, right? Why was it? Because most people who come from your background, the thought process is, oh, I already know everything, right? Because the strength that people like you have is that you're very strong-minded, that once you decide something, you're going to stick to it come hell or high water, right? But where does this idea of being open and being willing to learn come from? Was it taught by your parents? Is it because of your husband? Because your husband is a completely opposite person of you.
Of me,
right? I mean, you're kind of the one who's,
and he's more reserved
He's
and
very
quiet.
reserved and quiet. So where did you learn that?
You know what, I think I've always been very outgoing, and it's part of my personality that I just get along with people, and I like to do big things. Like if I do something, I want to do it. I want to go big. Like I don't want to just go and do something and just. So if I set my mind to something, I'm very ambitious, and I really try to go after what I can, and I just keep my mind on the prize. And
Got it. So you show up at the 3-day, like you joined actually Mastery before the whole thing.
Yeah, right. 2 more classes were left.
You came to a 3-day because you'd never even been to the 3-day.
Yeah.
What we were talking about, we started with kind of the wholesale thing and the acquiring a property, getting properties under contract, then the flips, and then the rentals, right? Did that process, what I was trying to get across, did that make sense for you? That flipping and wholesales is a treadmill. It's no different than you going out getting contracts, right? You're running on the treadmill, but truly, if you set up enough good quality rental properties, right, that's income for life, right? That's owning treadmills rather than you running on them. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it's just I love the way that you simplify all this stuff and go from people really. I always thought it was very hard, and when you kind of laid all the steps out for me, I was like, oh my God, like I could totally do this in my sleep. Not to sound cocky or anything, because that's not what it's about. It's just about really that it doesn't really take a person like me, because people are like, well, you have a construction background, so it's a lot easier for you. No, like anybody, because you can hire a person like me and I could do the work for you. So don't let that stuff stop people, right? And I think that a lot of people have, different mindsets that, it was easy for her or she could, and it's really not about that. It's about building the right team. And you really, you're so good at explaining this. Like I call you, you know how they have like those books and then they have those books for dummies?
Right.
Yeah, like you are like one of those people that like run your business to really simplify it and make it so simple that anybody just can take it and run with it.
So now when you show up, right, it's not like, and a lot of times, people, we've done those where people literally were broke. You were not broke, right? But because somebody may think, oh my God, Andrew, she had millions and millions of dollars saved up.
No.
I mean, absolutely not.
No.
Right? So you had maybe 100,000, 150,000, but my point was, why would you use your money? right?
Yeah.
Don't even use your money, borrow money from other people.
Yeah, you kept telling me
right?
that.
And this is a lot. This is very tough, especially for immigrants, because we have been ingrained in our brains.
Yeah, save, use
yeah.
your own money. Yeah.
Debt is bad. Don't borrow money, especially if it's high interest rate, right?
Yeah.
It's bad for you. It's true. It's always better to save, no question about it, right? But yet you adopted that whole idea, right? So let's go through your first property so that people kind of get a perspective. So first property, you bought it as a 2-bedroom, I believe.
Yeah, I turned it into a 3.
You turned it into a 3.
Yeah.
Purchase price was $47,000, right?
All in 80.
All in 80.
All in
right?
80
Purchase
with
plus rehab. And then what was the appraised value?
Favorite part, 155.
155. Okay. Now, you came from real estate, right?
Yeah.
Is that something you thought that could be done? Now, obviously, flips, yes. But on a rental property that is that simple in a good neighborhood.
No, remember when I called you? I'm like, guess what my appraisal came in at? Because we were shooting. Remember, you were like 125, 130. Shoot for that number. I'm like, okay, I'll make that number work. And then when it came in at 155, I was like, what? I mean, it was a no-brainer that I just had to go and keep doing it and just follow your formula. That was it.
Now on that property, net bottom line, you have, how much money do you have invested in that property?
Zero.
Zero, right? Out of pocket after refi.
Nothing.
And then what does it cash flow every month?
I have 600, not a full 650.
Okay, 650. So at the time, let's just say you have one property, right? You go to one of your friends and you go, you know, I have one property and I make $600, right? Most people would laugh at you, right? Because someone like you would spend more than that on a shoe, right? So,
probably.
But yeah, and I'm saying this because obviously I'm setting this whole thing up, the example up. But a lot of times people are like, oh man, you know, look at Marta, you know, she's buying some little house. It makes $600, and she's so proud of it. People don't understand the power of this, right? Because it's not the one house. Not only do you have 50, 60 in equity in that house, people miss that part completely. Right? It's a great neighborhood, 2 or 3 year lease probably. That's what you leased it out at, right? On top of that, you make $600 and you have nothing in it, right?
It's like free money.
It's free money.
And people don't get it.
Have you ever tried to explain this to your friends?
Yes, I actually do, because I want some of my friends to get into this, and they're like, don't you just hate dealing with tenants? I'm like, you guys just don't get it yet. Like, it's very hard to explain. And you know what? It's the hardest to explain it to your family and to your friends, because strangers listen to you. It's the people that are close to you that you want them to be successful are the ones that don't listen.
Don't listen, right? And
it's always like that.
It's kind of interesting because a lot of times, you know, people will look at someone who has done something else, right? And just because they're well put together, they present themselves well, they're like, oh my God, they have it all together, right? Yet, she goes, does her first property, and the first property, I literally called her 5 or 6 times. I'm like, Miss Marta, this will work.
Are you going to do it?
Yeah,
Are you going to do it?
You can't let this go, right? Because here, I'm looking at it from my perspective. I'm like, this is simple, right? This is not even something I would have to think about. And I literally had looked at that property for 2 seconds. And I'm like, I'll take it. The real estate agent's like, Andrew, you can't buy this property. You guys buy a lot of properties from us, but you can't buy. I'm like, why? Why do you?
Be quiet.
She's like, well, because, you know, if you buy this property, something goes wrong, then you guys are never buying this property. I'm like, listen, as many properties like this you can send me, I will buy. Trust me, I will buy it.
Right? Me too. Write my number down.
And she literally was, and I mean, bless her heart that she was that concerned about it. I'm like, this is a great, because it is a phenomenal property.
And those are the best properties that make the numbers work. I mean, we all know that.
So now, here comes along your second property. Right? And this is where you use your skill set, which you brought to the table, right? It was your 10 unit.
No, that was actually my third. So I bought another one in Lansing. But yeah, there was another house I did. Everything worked out over there as well.
Similar numbers.
Similar numbers, great house. And then, yeah, the third deal was Waukegan.
So third deal was Waukegan. It's 10 townhouses that are basically right next to each other. Right? How did you find this deal?
Off market.
Off market property. Okay. So you got the concept. Like you got the concept that, hey, I see an opportunity, the numbers work, I'm going after it.
Yes.
Right? But that was kind of, at that time, it was
a lot. It was a lot for me. I was a little scared.
Oh, yeah. No.
I do admit it.
It's funny because we're sitting right here in the studio when you brought this in. You were actually talking to Rahul, right? And then you brought it to me. I'm like, Miss Marta, don't even show me these numbers.
Yeah, it doesn't
because this
work.
is bullshit. This is it's impossible.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was a pro forma on the property.
Right.
Right? I'm like, this is pro forma. Ask them for the real numbers. Don't even show me these because pro forma is just BS numbers.
From brokers.
And you called me back. You're like, Andrew.
No, and I told you, and you came back, and what did Raul say? And we're like, it's a good deal, Andrew. And you're like, how is this a good deal? Explain it to me, guys.
Right.
And then we're like, these are real. What? These are real numbers?
Right.
Okay, you're buying it.
Right.
And remember,
I didn't even believe it. I mean, because the numbers were so good on paper. Right? And I'm like, I don't believe this. This has got to be unreal. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, this is BS. Let's get real numbers and we'll talk about it. Because literally, I'm like, oh my God, if these are real numbers, there is no way in hell you should let this deal go.
Yeah, you told me so. If you invest $100K into it and you get 25,000. 25% return. What else do you want?
Right, exactly.
Right? You put it very simple.
Right.
And I was like, no, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, but
I was scared. I was scared of. I mean, I wasn't scared of the deal as much as I was like scared. Okay, can I handle that right off the bat?
Right.
I wanted to make sure that I don't like over leverage myself, and there was a lot of things going through my mind. But
so that deal you bought for what were the numbers? 10 townhouses.
It was 10. I bought it for 540.
540, you buy 10 townhouses, right?
Yeah.
And this is important, guys, if you're watching, listening, because you have to always wonder, how does somebody buy that, right? On an average regular sale, you're going to have to basically put up 20-25%, right, out of pocket to be able to buy a property like that. And in a lot of cases, you may not have the 20-25% down that you're going to need. Then you need a construction budget to be able to rehab some of these because they were all occupied, yet they were not necessarily in the condition you would want them.
No.
Right? So you have to, and here's an idea, my suggestion would be, because a lot of times people are, well, oh my God, Andrew, I got to wholesale it or I can't do this deal, right? What if you even partnered with somebody?
Right.
This deal there's so much meat on the bone. I mean, you could partner with somebody, put out zero money out of pocket, right? You have one of these deals, look up Marta, look up me, look up anybody from Mastery. Anybody would do this deal and we will fund it for you, right? Because it's such a good deal. It's not what you know that is important. If you even bumble into a property.
It's who you know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's who you know and do you have the relationships?
Yeah.
And use their brains. You don't have to have your own
Exactly. You
brain.
don't even have to have a brain.
You just have to make sure they're honest and ethical people and they know what they're doing. That's the most important requirements, right? So how did you do this deal, right? Let's kind of walk me through this because this is important for people to understand. Because a lot of times people are like, oh my God, I could never do a deal like this. So what did you do? Did you go to a commercial bank? Did you go to a hard money lender? Did you go to a private money lender?
Yeah, so we kind of looked at a lot of options, right? Like Chicago funding, we looked at Chicago funding. Then we were like, private money doesn't work here because we're not, it's occupied. So it would be hard to, get the money out because we're really not going to be improving the property as much. So we had conventional, let's just go commercial, or let's go Chicago funding, right? So after all said and done, I decided to go with the commercial bank, remember?
Small commercial bank. Okay.
Small commercial bank, they funded the deal. So after all said and done, after like the credits that I got, I was able to pull out even more money out of it. I had to bring like $55K.
Okay, so let's just talk through this, right?
Okay.
You would have to bring 25% to the closing.
Right.
Right? But then you have reserves there, right? You have credits, you have tax credits, all the things that the owner of the previous property has to transfer to you.
To me.
Right? So even though you brought 125, 150 to the table, when you walked away from the closing, your net was 55,000, right? If we just stopped here, guys, think about this, right? You're buying a $540,000 property, 10 townhouses right next to each other, and you're buying it in what we would call a C area, right? And you do it for $55,000. And here's the thing: when you bought this property, they were not performing at the level they do today, obviously.
Right.
Right. At that time, what kind of income was this producing?
I was getting, for all 10 of them, it was around like 2,500, not even full 2,500.
25.
Yeah, remember you told me, you're like, you have to go in there, you have to raise rents because you have to at least have 300 out of that property, of each unit.
So think about this, $2,500 times 12, right? So you're basically making somewhere around $28,000 for the year. You put up $55,000 and you make $28,000 net cash flow. This is net numbers we're talking about, right? If you just stop there with this deal, it's more than 50% return on your money, right? As is the deal, and that's why I didn't believe the numbers, because I was like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
Why would somebody sell this property, right? It makes no sense. And you're like, you know, Andrew, he wants to buy something bigger, but I'm like, that's fine. Refi the property. Why would you sell it, right? Yet, now let's talk about you walk away from the property, $55,000 you have as far as at the closing that you have invested out of pocket. And then what did you start doing? Did you empty the whole building, the 10 units out? What did you start doing?
So I, you know, as people, some people that wanted to move out, if they moved out, I rehabbed the units. And I obviously raised the prices for rent. And that's
what were the average rents at that time?
They were, so the cheapest rent that they had over there at the time when I took over was $800 a month.
And these are 2 or 3 bedrooms?
3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath.
3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath properties.
For $800. Wow. Yes.
Okay, got it.
So it was definitely undervalued, and I noticed, and so I started like researching, hey, what are other people renting in that area? And I noticed that some people were even getting money over $1,000, some were getting $1,200. So as I started, so right now I'm renting them for $1,250, not all of them yet, because I still have a lot of tenants that have been living there for many years, even before I took over. So right now, as we're speaking, my cash flow is like $5,700 a month.
$5,700 a month.
Right now.
Okay. And did you refi the property out? What did you do?
No, I didn't.
Refi it. Okay.
I didn't. I left all the money in there because obviously my goal is to pay off my portfolio.
Perfect. So now this is the next thing I want to get to, right? First I want to kind of, so that was, you go from you go 1 property, then 2 properties, 2 small single families.
Yes.
Then you basically buy this 10 properties. And then you go back to single family.
Yeah, I keep buying them.
You just keep buying them, right? So, and this is a conversation we have had, right, a bunch of times. You're like, you know, Andrew, one of these days, if the right deals come along, we got to look at multi-units. We got to, and I'm like, Ms. Marta, the problem is everybody and their brother right now, right, is buying multi-units like it's going out of style, right? I mean, the cash-on-cash return on your portfolio, right now you have how many rentals?
21.
21 rentals, right? It's, the cash-on-cash return is infinite, right? Because if you take the whole portfolio of 21 properties together, I don't think you have a penny out of pocket.
No.
You have not one penny.
From all those properties that I refied for my single family, I was always able to, like, you know, get more money out of them to even cover Waukegan for me. So.
To even, So, I mean, you don't, and so, and this is kind of interesting, and it's funny. About a year into this process, right? You call me one day, you're like, Andrew, I really have to talk to you. I thought you're stuck with something. And what was your words?
I called you because I finally had all of them refied, and I ran my numbers, and I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I have to call Andrew. He's not going to believe this. I'm making so much money. And remember, I called you and I said, do you want to know what my return, and without having 4 of them rented yet at that time. And you're like, see what I tell you. I told you this stuff was going to work, right? And I said, oh my God, I'm like, because at the beginning I was in such a momentum. We were building really fast. I mean, we built this in like a year. We were like going crazy. We were like gobbling everything up we could. That obviously made sense. We weren't being, you know, stupid about buying, but we wanted to make sure that we buy the right stuff. And then it just started like snowballing, and I'm blown away. Like right now as we're sitting, I already have over $10,000 a month.
In net income. I mean, you have, heck, 5,000. I mean, you should be, I mean, if I'm doing my numbers correctly, I think you should be somewhere around 14.
And 2 of them are not rented yet.
2 of them. But
2 of them
if everything settles in, you should be somewhere 15,000, 14, 15,000 at least, if not more, right? This is net cash flow we're talking about. We're not talking about gross income.
This is after PITI.
Yeah, after PITI, expenses, all that stuff, right? Net. And so let me go back a little bit, because to build all of this, right? It's not like you had a bunch of money,
No.
right? You had some savings, but it's a very limited amount. You've borrowed private money from a lot of people, like within Mastery, you borrowed your Chicago funding, a bunch of sources,
Yes.
right? How has that concept been okay with you, where you're paying a couple points, you're borrowing the money at 1% a month, right? So if you're borrowing the money for 6 months, right, it's costing you 2 points plus another $6,000
Right.
for every 100,000 borrowed.
You know what? I never actually looked at it like that, that it should be. There's never, whenever you have a business transaction, everybody has to make money. And I know that from business, right? It always has to be a win-win situation. If my private money lender is making money and I'm still making money, if I have enough of a spread, go make the money, borrow me that money, lend me that money. That's how I was able to escalate to such a big level, because at one time I had like over $500,000 out with private money lenders, and it never scared me because I was very confident with my numbers that they were going to come through, and I was able to refi everything that I did, and why wouldn't it work? I followed the formula, and I don't mind giving somebody the 2 points at 12%. As long as it works, Everything gets figured into your formula as you're doing the deal.
Got it. So, any wholesales that you've done?
I have done a few, yeah.
Okay. So not only the 4 flips, 21 rentals, but you've also done some wholesales, right? So you're kind of using the whole thing, right? Where some properties may not make sense, you have them under contract, and you're like, oh, maybe this is not an area where I have more properties, so I'm going to wholesale those. So you evaluate every property, whatever makes sense, that's kind of what you do, right? So the other question becomes is this. Did you quit, because you're making a good substantial income from this, your husband has a business also, right? On top of that. Did you guys quit what you do as your profession?
No, you can't. Like, I think that, we're too fresh into this to just do that yet, as you say, right? Take care of real estate for the first 5 years, and real estate will take care of you for life. And you really have to do that. Like, it's not something that you do overnight. You can build it, you can do all that stuff, but you really have to be disciplined enough not to live off that money. That money, I don't live off of it. We don't touch it. It gets reinvested in everything that we do.
Got it. So you're basically truly looking at real estate the way we kind of always ingrain in people, that this is not, I don't care if you have 20,000 coming in a month, makes no difference, right? Do not quit your job, or in your case, do not quit the construction. That is what is going to keep putting food on your table.
Exactly.
And you build this to a huge amount, pay off a bunch of properties, right? Now, this concept, which is a very unusual concept that we tend to believe in wholeheartedly, which is paying off properties, right? I mean, a lot of people have this temptation that, Andrew, that's kind of stupid, to pay off the properties. Why not just go leverage and just buy more? Think about the captured equity, right? It's not the first time I've heard this, and it's not like, I've never thought about it, right? What my belief, but you buy into that concept.
Yeah.
Does that go back to some of the things that happened in 2006 and 7 and 8?
Yeah.
The security part of it?
Yeah, and I just wanted, I don't want to be dependent on a bank as much. Like, I'm not saying that always all my portfolio is going to be paid off. You always play with money, right? Like, you got to, eventually when we just started this, like, really 2 years ago, and then 1 year was basically canceled because of COVID.
Correct.
So I really had like 1 year, and then COVID hits, and we're like, are you kidding, right? In the middle of like the momentum.
Funny conversation, right? Earlier, obviously last year, in March, this happens, and we're talking, right? And Marta's like, oh my God.
Seriously.
I was on such a damn momentum, and it's like, it's just, a lot of times you feel that, right? You're like, I'm just getting my footing underneath me.
And we just didn't know, right? Like, a lot of my rentals were really fresh. Are people gonna pay? And thankfully, right now in hindsight, everything looks peachy, everybody's paying, everything's good, we're comfortable. But imagine if people, I didn't have all these saved up reserves yet. Because I was literally, I was just getting some of these properties rented.
Right.
So it was a lot of pressure, but it's business. You got to stick it out. You have the high tide. Sometimes you have the low. You just have to find your place every situation you get into. But you really have to be disciplined and not live off
You know,
that
and a
money.
lot of times people don't realize, guys, to build a business, right? Look at anybody's business that has been in business for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? What people look at is the rising stars, right? The shooting stars.
Yeah.
And most of them, they go up and they go down just as fast, if not faster. And that is not what we want. I would be much happier if Ms. Marta has 35, 40 properties, 20 are completely paid off.
Yeah.
Now with the rest of them, she can go play with it. She can do whatever she wants with it. Go on all kinds of adventures. But those 20 properties will set her and her family up for life. College education, retire, everything is set with the first 20 properties. And that is what is important. That don't play with the money that is going to set you up. Play with the money that is outside of it, right?
Yep.
You go to a casino, you put up $100. If you win $100, take your $100 off the table.
Exactly.
Put it back in your pocket. Now, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, right? Not that you want to lose, but it doesn't really matter. And that is a concept.
It's a different risk.
It's the reason I say that because I know a lot of people that, oh man, in 1985, I made a lot of money. Well, where is it? Well, you know what happened. I know what happened. They just got a little bit too greedy. They got ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is we want to make sure that you're so solid and you're so secure that the market ups and downs, every time the market crashes, you buy, right? But you have to put yourself in that position to be able to buy. So today, right, it's been about 2 years at this point, right? You've had a phenomenal run. At this, what do you say to people that are listening to you? We're hopefully working our way out of COVID, right? Still, as we record this, this is February, 2021.
Yes.
As we're recording this, what do you say to people? Because the market is hot, clearly.
It
Right?
is.
It doesn't matter if you're in Chicago, it doesn't matter you're in Tampa, you're in Houston, you're wherever in the country.
Yeah.
The market is hot. But is this still doable?
Yes, 100%. I mean, right now you have to be a little bit more careful with your numbers
Right.
because obviously we know things are going through the roof. So that's why I kind of am doing a little bit of flips just to get some of that money in and pay off those properties. But overall, like the formula never changes, and it just can't change because if you buy it right and if you run your numbers correctly and if you don't have to fudge around with them, this will 110% work. It's just you really have to stick to your.
Got it. I want to go back one thing. I was just thinking that property, the 10 units that you had bought for $550, right? You went from $2,500 cash flow to $5,700 cash flow so far, and it's
Yes.
increasing
Yes.
because what is the value of that today?
$1 million.
$1 million, okay, and that's very, very conservative value, very conservative value, right? Guys, think about this, right?
Yeah. So my loan on it is I have like $400,000 I own it.
$400,000 loan on it. That's it.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
And this is where this is real estate, right?
Yeah.
Real estate is always about three things. Number one is equity. Equity, I know you can't eat, but I would much rather see you have 10 properties that are paid off.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because that security is always there. First, you want to be a multi-gazillionaire, secure your family first.
Yeah.
And then go chase returns. Right? You can't do it at the cost. What most people do is they do it at the cost of long-term security. Rich people chase returns. Wealthy people, you talk to anybody that has a net worth, 25, 30, 50, 100 million, 200 million. They don't chase returns. They chase safety first. Returns always come second.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a concept which is very tough for people to understand. What people try, oh my God, I can make a little bit. No, that's called hooked on crack.
Yeah.
You're just looking for the next crackhead. And that's not the business that we're in. Right? So I see you've done 2 flips already, right? You're doing 2 flips now.
Yeah, right now.
Right? And we've said this, we're not in the construction business, we're not in the flipping business. Flipping, wholesaling is something we do because that is
pay off.
another way to create income.
Yeah.
Right? That's it.
Yep.
But that's not our business.
No.
We own great properties.
Yeah.
We're investors, right?
That's what we
so the flipping strategy that you have, are you doing big flips, small flips? What are you doing?
No, smaller. I don't want to do anything big right now. God knows where everything's going. So I just want to, be in maybe a month, take it, put it on the market, and get out. So,
Okay. Got it.
lipstick stuff.
Okay. So the first couple flips, what kind of money did you make?
On the first one, around 40, and on the
Okay.
second one, I think it was like a little bit over 30.
A little bit over
Smaller,
30.
yeah.
Okay. So nice basically nice hits, right, every time, right? Small stuff. And why not do the big, because you've done those, right? You've built big $2-3 million houses, right? Why not do those? Why are you avoiding those?
It's just, that's not my business. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in like the construction thing anymore. That's not my goal. I want to build my portfolio. My biggest thing is obviously build my portfolio. Right now it's a little bit slower with everything that's going on in the market. So I'm jumping into the flips a little bit, to help offset it. And, but that, I don't want it. It's a headache. How do you know if you're going to sell it? You put up a house. If it's a $500,000 house, you're getting into like bigger loans and, different clientele. I don't need that. Like, just keep it simple and just do what what you're doing. And I've just been very, determined just to grow the rentals, and that's what I'm doing.
Got it. And you have 3 kids. Right?
Yes.
I'm fascinated. I'm scared of kids, but I'm fascinated because I don't have kids. That's why I'm scared of kids, right?
They're not that bad.
Yeah, they seem a lot of responsibility. But I mean, I love your kids because, I mean, you've kind of ingrained them, right? Yep. So at an early age, your daughter is obviously a baby still.
Yeah.
But
well,
the
she's
other
3 already.
3 already. Okay.
Yes.
But the other 2 boys, right? It's the funniest thing. It's like my ambition, I have to tell this story, always was one day I was going to buy an airplane, right? This was my thing. And real estate kind of allowed me to be able to be in a financial position where I could afford to do that. And sometimes, when you're an adult and you buy the things you want to buy, now you're like, oh my God, I'm taking people for a joyride. I want to make sure everything is safe. It's a big responsibility, blah, blah. Yeah. And you, rather than enjoying the process, you kind of get caught in that moment. And oh my God, it's a big commitment when I initially bought it, right? And yet the other day we take your kids flying, right, with your husband and your kids. I mean, I have never been more excited to be on a stupid plane, right? I mean, this is so fun because a lot of times, for the first time, I got a glimpse of what parents see, right? A lot of times parents are living vicariously through their kids, right? I mean, these boys are jumping up and down. They're like, oh my God, yay, so we get to go on a plane. They're so excited and so thrilled, right? And it's like we're kind of doing a skyline tour of Chicago, and I ask her kids, I'm like, guys, you guys have to buy a plane. They're like, oh, we're going to buy a bigger one than this, right?
I mean, ambitious.
Oh my God, this is so great to see that.
I know,
right? That at such a young age, how have you instilled those things? Because I mean, these kids are talking like, hey, we want to be investors. And they're little, right? They don't want to be firemen. They don't want to be
like they go to school and they
right.
say they want to be investors. And that obviously they like draw you on the picture. Like, we want to be like, we don't know who Andrew is, the teacher said. They're like, he's an investor, Right. But, I always thought it was, Jacob is the oldest, right? He's 11 now. So ever since he was literally 2 and he could like talk and keep a conversation, we really did. Like, we really spent a lot of time on that particular child, explaining things to him like that, even though like we were all in a business and we've kind of felt like slaves to the whole, economy, but we kind of knew, like, we knew that was the way. And ever since he was little, we would like instill that in him, like, you got to go and then you can help people like that. And he just turned out, he's very ambitious, as you know. He's very like cocky and kind of like, I don't care, put me up on stage, like very.
And it's in front of 500 people.
Yeah, right? Like, he doesn't care.
He comes up at the 3-day and he's like, Andrew, can you have me on stage with my mom? And I thought he was kidding and he was going to be shy.
Yeah.
He gets up there and the first words out of his mouth, let me tell you people how to invest, how to be an investor. I'm like, oh my God.
You guys are all here because you want to learn how to make money, right?
I mean, it's just
I'll
unbelievable.
never forget that. Yeah,
it's so great to see that.
And it's so great that you like allow them to do that you can be like their medium to like express themselves, because he's literally like written books about it. He has taken the books to school and taught the class about it. So he's just really been into it. And then Oscar, the younger one, he's only 6, but he's been catching on. And he says, you know what he told me? I told him that if he reads every day, I'll give him $1 because he didn't want to read. So he was like, oh my God. So he goes to Jacob. He's like, Jacob, Mom said she's going to give me $1 every night that I read. Mom, I'm going to save that $1. I'm going to buy a house. Right. And that like makes me so proud of him. You know what I mean? So at 6 years old, like to
so
say
good
that
you at least get the good thinking. Now, God knows what kids do as they grow up. But
we don't know.
it's so exciting, at least from my end. I'm like, oh my God.
To see that, right?
I mean, this is little Andrew. I'm like,
I know.
I mean, because of the foundation that you guys can lay,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20 million, right? I mean, these kids really have the potential to build a legacy like no tomorrow, right? So, Ms. Marta, this has been fun, right? And it's
Thank
been
you.
fun because not only do you get it, but you've actually gone to work, right? And there's a lot of, and I always feel this, that there's a lot of people who are in the construction business. Maybe they're working with their hands, they own these businesses. Same thing like real estate agents, insurance people who are connected to the real estate business. Yet as an industry, people who are connected to the real estate industry,
not do too much.
they own less real estate than people who are not in real estate. I mean, it's a very sad thing, and it's actually really very gratifying when someone like you comes along and is like, oh my God, I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it 100 miles an hour.
And just like you said, you know, like there's a lot of Polish people, as you know, we're in the construction industry, and a lot of them don't do that. And sometimes I'm like, because it's the comfort zone, right? It's like the flips bring me my 30, 40, 50, and I can do 10 of them and have a good living. And they think that that's the only way, and they're kind of scared to go the other way. And you just have to like really go and do it and just open your mind and just be teachable.
You know, and I think I've realized this, and I've found this out, that people, especially who are intelligent, right, who do well at something, right, they're very hard-headed. They're very hard-headed, and that's the reason they succeed. But the flip side of it is they're so hard-headed, they're not even willing to learn anything new.
They miss opportunities.
You know, they miss a lot of opportunities. And so to have that skill set, and we've laughed about this, right? At times that we're like, you know, why is it that you take the Hispanic community, you take the Polish community, a lot of different people, and you're like, oh my God, in fact, we're getting rich. And they're putting in the windows. They're doing all the work, and we're.
Why aren't you doing it? Right?
It's amazing, but I think a lot of it is just lack of education. Right? Lack
and they're
of understanding.
scared. Like a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are scared of debt. That's one thing. You know, people hate to be in debt, especially, you know, like in Poland, we come from like an environment where you build a house, you build it with your own money. You don't borrow money from the bank, and it's like the families have always worked for their kids, and it's a different mentality, but it's a mentality that's being broken right now. And you know, coming to America and seeing other opportunities, you just have to keep dreaming. And I think that if you dream, reach for the stars, and anything is possible. You just have to work at it and get it done.
Great. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing the interview, because it's always fun when people take the ideas and run with it. It's kind of, you get to see not only has it worked for me in my own business, but yet other people are kind of, you know, making it happen for themselves. Having said that, hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Miss Marta. And make sure you join us, you like us, you share the podcast. And the website is 257cashflow.com. That's 257cashflow.com. This is Andrew Holmes. Thank you, and have a great day.